Just a look.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, today we have Sylvia Montenegro and Jaime Soria, two important figures in Coachella history, today to talk about the children of Coachella, something very close to their hearts.
Yeah, so I grew up in Coachella, and I know you were the mayor or at city council for some years. And I think it's looking back, growing up there, I think Coachella has, especially for kids, there's been some services missing, maybe recreational, educational, housing. There's been some improvements. However, I believe there's still some things missing. What do you think? What can Coachella do as a city to benefit the youth, the children, teenagers? What are some services that you see have been missing?
I believe that today, year 2012, the city of Coachella has not developed as a community to better serve the youth of Coachella. The city of Coachella has a very large young population, from crib to young adults. Very large population. Because the population is so large, our educational system has not kept up with the demands of the developing human being, from crib to high school to entry into college. It simply is not there today. We need to completely overhaul the curriculum in the Coachella Valley Unified School District. And for today, I am aware that what is occurring is that the teachers are obligated to teach to the test. Because they're teaching to the test, then their classrooms are void of learning and teaching conditions that develop the person at any age. It must be there. If it isn't, then we're not properly serving our students. And the outcome of all of this is, of course, the failure rate at middle school, which is where failure begins. When the student begins to have reason and begins to understand that el yo, me, is not being successful. And they know failure, and failure hurts deeply, very much. And when does failure begin? When communication is not there. What we have is a massive communicative disorder amongst our youth, our community, the parents, and those who make the decisions for community life in the city of Coachella.
So in a sense, it seems like the educational system has a big part in how successful Coachella moves forward, and one is educating in a more perhaps effective way our children, because the educational system does require a lot of the testing, teaching children how to take tests, how to pass tests, and perhaps the communication, the interaction between the teacher and the student, which goes back to the student at home with the family. It seems that the communication, and not just the verbal communication, but a lot of the affection or effective communication and different styles of communication, perhaps the children are not being developed in a way that that also fulfills themselves, the self-development, perhaps. So how can, as a city, how can the community, including education, the home, the parents, the resources, what would help them to all link and create this, like an overhaul, a citywide overhaul, let's say, in the educational system and the city environment, the leadership and so forth? What would help them to come together and really develop that, especially for the children, as you mentioned? Because we got to start from the children to be able to bring that to fruition.
I believe that today the city of Coachella could embark on becoming a community that wants to grow, to come past what has happened historically.
Okay.
And in order to do that, we need to work through, yes, the schools, community groups, libraries, and churches. City of Coachella has a tiny little building called the City Library.
Okay.
It is, of course, extremely limited, and we need a new library. Other communities have beautiful libraries. City of Coachella does not. So if a student goes there, or an adult, any age, it's deficient, severely deficient. Community groups. We need to form community groups for the formation of our young people, primarily for the formation of the family.
Correct.
Because we have so many broken homes. One-parent families, or children being reared by grandparents or another family member. That leaves a vast void in the development of la persona. And we seemingly are not taking children seriously in the city of Coachella.
Okay.
They're not people. They're in schools, there are numbers to be counted, but we're not addressing their needs by planning what I would call the family development, and that would take a lot of work to be done, and it has to be developed. It can be developed through, I would say, those in the medical community who have taken an interest, but then even more so is the schools themselves. Are the administration, the administrators, and the lead teachers in every school, can we come to a new world era in public education? It must happen for the success of the students. Otherwise, we will continue to see the dropout rate continue to grow.
And I want to mention something that you made a couple of very strong points that I agree, and from my experience growing up in Coachella, I remember growing up and not enough resources, not enough, now there's the Boys and Girls Club, you mentioned the library. I grew up feeling Coachella's poor, and I think people have that mentality. It's a poor community, so therefore don't ask for a better library, don't ask for parks, don't ask, because we have no money. It sounds like when a family is poor, they always feel, we can't go on vacation because there's no money, we can't go buy, so it's almost like sometimes it's the mentality, and the truth is that money is limited. However, I think that has ingrained kind of the mentality of the Coachella community, perhaps, that there's no money, so why ask for things? There's no money, so we're not going to have a bigger library or a newer library. And I understand that Coachella has received many grants to develop new projects. What I'm wondering is, as you mentioned, the children, if that mentality is being ingrained in the children, and as you said, we need a new mental state, we need a new vision, so that children do grow up feeling we can have a better library. We can go for, we can make dreams happen. So I'm wondering if the past has really hindered a lot of the services, community services, but also the soul of Coachella has been more the poor soul, where we don't have money, we can't get what we want. And so is that the new vision that you're mentioning, that what children need to, we as a community, as the adults, need to create the new vision for the children so that they do believe they can have better things?
Absolutely, because it seemingly we have a mindset amongst those who are the decision makers that this poverty, quote unquote, issue permeates the thinking process, which is a grand error, because the human brain is learning constantly. So then, it seems like in the city of Coachella, that I know so well, we are convinced that the brain of our people is incapable of learning. It simply doesn't function as well as, and we like to compare, we do a lot of comparison, as well as, say, the brain of another nationality or people of another community. And we say, ay, si no fuéramos tan pobres, la pobreza. Vamos a la iglesia, oímos de la pobreza. We hear everybody talking about poverty. Los pobres de nosotros, poor little me attitude is very destructive. Very destructive. Because it's not an issue of poor little me. It's an issue of the challenge that we must present. And as community leaders is the development of a better community, and we are very capable of doing it. The city of Coachella does receive, as you say, grants which are misappropriated. Misappropriated. Okay, we can play ball, but that's not all there is to life.
So it seems that perhaps the residents of Coachella have stayed away from playing a part in let's say politics at City Hall.
Sure.
And what is needed is everybody has to play their part, not only the leadership, the educators, but also the residents, the citizens of Coachella have to be, everybody has to be involved to work towards that better future, to better the city. And as you mentioned, communication. It's so who would be who might be the branch or the group that can start reaching out, or who or what can bring that community, all aspects of the community together, so that the involvement seems to be the key to really improving the city, the area overall. What or who might be maybe that leadership that the community needs?
Javier, I believe that today it is necessary to form new communities of conscience, communities of people who use their thinking process and who are committed, who commit to bringing the change. I say that communication is the first step in understanding. Great wars have occurred. We're in war right now because of lack of communication. And with children, it's very important. With families, we know that when there is a communicative disorder, a communicative deficiency, then misunderstandings occur and the result is failure.
Yeah. So overall, everybody needs to do their part. We need to start communicating in a more effective way, in a more nurturing way, in a more amistable, ¿verdad? Con amistad y with the best of intentions for the city, so we can move forward. Well, thank you.
To present the mental challenge. It must occur. We're capable of doing it. Yeah. As Mexicanos, we can. It's not an issue of being Mexicano. It's an issue of using the gift that we have, el cerebro.
Thank you.
That's good, Sylvia.
Too much.
No, that was perfect. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got to
move.
No, I know.
You have a job to do.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, I'm going to go grab